Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, today's Monday, July 14th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. National Urban League Conference takes place this week in Cleveland. Marc Morial, the president and CEO, will join us to talk about their agenda, especially when it comes to the massive budget cuts that will have a dramatic impact on Black America. Also on today's show, Moral Mondays, protests taking place nationwide. They deliver the coffins to the offices of Republican members of the House and the Senate to show the impact on the devastating Medicaid cuts that were in that particular bill. Also, Florida State Representative Shevrin Jones, toured the controversial Alligator Alcatraz in Florida, had sharp words for what he discovered. He will join us to tell us exactly what he saw. Also, another Trump supporter is wondering, oh my goodness, where's the government help? But there's some other videos where she was trashing people who wanted the government help. And the latest developments in St. Augustine's University debacle, we'll tell you all about it. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's Uncle Roro, y'all. It's Roland Martin.
Folks, defend democracy, demand diversity, defeat poverty. That is the slogan of this week's National Urban League Convention, and it is, of course, very timely when you consider the massive budget cuts taking place in the nation's capital regarding the so-called Big Beautiful Bill that critics call the Big Ugly Bill. Of course, National Urban League, which is one of our legacy civil rights organizations, really focused on economic empowerment, understands in terms of the impact of these issues financially on African Americans. They released their State of Black America report that often details the condition of Black America on an annual basis. Marc Morial is the president and CEO of the National Urban League. He, of course, joins us right now. Marc, glad to have you on the show. This is, what we're looking at right now, what we're facing right now is a significant issue. Sure, we could talk about tariffs, we could talk about all these different things, but these budget cuts are huge because they speak to loss of federal jobs that impacts Black middle-class families, kids going to college. We talk about grant cuts, Pell Grants as well. People really need to understand how significant these cuts are and how they can impact Black folks.
Roland, first of all, thank you and congratulations on the success of the Black Star Network and your continuing championing of Black-owned media. The Big Ugly Bill is a moral outrage. And I use the term moral because what it fundamentally does is it strips resources, money, and investments away from poor, working, and middle-class Americans and transfers it to America's less than 1,000 billionaires. Everybody in Black America should be outraged. Excuse me, I'm fighting a little case of the hiccups. Outraged, Roland, because not only Medicaid, but education cuts to workforce, cuts to housing, cuts to programs that benefit seniors and veterans. These cuts are going to be devastating. But let me tell you, the GOP's done something slick. They front-loaded the tax cuts, and they back-loaded the cuts so they don't take effect until after the midterm elections next year. So what they're going to seek to do is to run a game and say, well, see, it's had no impact. You haven't lost your health care. And after the elections, boom, if this thing is not repealed and replaced, then millions and millions of Americans are going to lose health care. We're going to go back to where we were before President Obama took office. We're going to go back 20 years. Excuse me, 20 years.
I don't think people, really understand that. I mean, let's go back the first time he was there. Well, one of the things that happened when it came to the tax cuts, they did the same thing. They backloaded the impact. And so the reason they were so desperate to pass, to extend these tax cuts is because they were going to dramatically jump because same thing. They put them on the front end and they exploded on the back end. And people like in 2023 and 24, they were like, yo, what the hell's happening with my taxes? They were blaming Biden-Harris, but no, that was actually the Trump tax bill.
And Roland, here's the thing. In the first term, they failed by one vote to repealing the Affordable Care Act. And in that Affordable Care Act was the expansion of Medicaid. So we dodged a bullet in the first term. We've not dodged it here in the second Trump term. Look, we're in Cleveland for our annual conference, and it's great to be in a city led by a strong young African-American mayor, Justin Bibb, and also a strong urban league here in Cleveland led by Marsha Mockaby. We're going to have 10,000 people here in Cleveland participating in this conference. It's going to be both live and virtual. And we're going to be talking about the state of emergency for Black America. When it comes to democracy, when it comes to economic opportunity, when it comes to our fundamental rights, there is a state of emergency. And that's the theme of this year's State of Black America. So it remains a call to arms for everyone to stand up and recognize you've got to use your voice. We have to protest. We have to litigate. We have to do selective. We've got to do every tool in the toolbox to battle this because the long-term implications are devastating.
Well, one of the things that we continue to focus on this show, we talk about capacity, and trying to get people to understand what that capacity means. And what we try to get people to understand is that when you look at the black vote, when you look at, frankly, our capacity, we're not voting at 70%. What's happening is we're sitting here voting in much different ways. We're sitting here in some places 38, 40, 42, 45. And I'm like, yo, that's not going to do it. We could change the outcome of elections.
We're surrendering our power. We're sitting on the side. And we don't recognize that this country respects political power and economic power. Full stop. And if we use our votes, we maximize our turnout. Keep an eye on mayoral elections. New York, Atlanta, New Orleans, among a number this fall, to see how high the turnout gets in those elections, right? The New York mayoral election had a slightly higher turnout than in previous years, but the African-American turnout was nothing to be proud of. We are not voting, we're not using our voice, and we're making excuses to ourselves, and we got to call folk out and say there's no excuse for standing on the side.
Well, it's no excuse for that. And what I keep saying also is this is where we must be funding things ourselves, controlling our own destiny, driving our own vote, going precinct to precinct, studying the numbers to see what our turnout is. And again, you have to connect political power with economic power. And then people say, well, we haven't gotten this, that, and the other. Well, this is how you do it. This is, I mean, political. Listen, that's what MAGA did. That's what the right did. If people are mad about the MAGA agenda, guess what? They showed up in big numbers in 2024, and many of us didn't.
Look, one of the formulas for Trump's electoral success in both 16, and he almost did it in 20, but we defeated him in 20 and 24, he maximized the turnout in his base. If we maximize turnout in our base, then people will respect our agenda. That's what's important. Look, they can say what they want about Joe Biden. We made progress from the standpoint of elements of our agenda under Joe Biden. We didn't get everything done. Some things were blocked. Some things were thwarted. But, you know, we need 8 to 12 years of a sustained commitment to our agenda.
Right.
Kind of bend the curve when it comes to wealth, bend the curve when it comes to health, bend the curve when it comes to education, bend the curve in a way that it cannot easily be bent back.
Well, I absolutely agree with that. First of all, for people who are not there, how can they watch what's taking place at your convention in Cleveland?
Follow us on all social media at Nat Urban League. Follow me at Marc Morial, and then go to NUL.org or NULconference.org, and we'll be streaming. We'll be keeping people updated on all social media channels. So look forward to seeing you again soon, Roland. I appreciate everything you do, man. Keep fighting.
All right. Marc Morial, President and CEO of National Urban League. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Brother Roland. Thank you.
All right, folks, got to go to break. We come back more on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. We're going to talk about, of course, our legacy civil rights organizations. And we're going to talk about what took place today across the country, Moral Mondays, how they use the power of their voices to go to the offices of these Republicans and hold them accountable and say, you voted for this bill, and these are going to be the impacts of the people, your citizens in your district. We're going to show you some of that right here as well on the only daily news show that centers African Americans in this country. Nobody else is doing this in Black-owned media. We are right here. You see me rocking the shirt. America needs black journalists, but America also needs a thriving, not surviving, but a thriving black-owned media. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to contribute to our cause, the dollars that you give goes to support this show. Allows us to be able to take this show on the road, to be able to broadcast, live stream events. So your support is critically important. Do so via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. Or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Click the Cash App Pay button to contribute. You can also use this QR code for credit cards as well. Checks and money orders, make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send them to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking faith, family, fatherhood, and the pathway to reentry. Most of us, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, have had someone in our lives, whether it was a grandfather, a father, an uncle, a brother, or a cousin, who has been incarcerated or justice impacted. What does that look like in rebuilding family and relationships? What does it look like for us to be able to have substantive conversations, come to the table, love on each other, while at the same time get it all out in the open so that we can begin a new journey together?
You know, the last thing you want is, in the midst of trying to piece your life back together, for home to not be a comfortable place.
That's all next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder Disney Plus, and I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Folks, Moral Mondays took place all across the country, and repairs of the breach, Poor People's Campaign, they delivered caskets to the offices of a number of Republicans who voted for this latest Trump tax bill, letting them know how devastating Medicaid and SNAP benefits will be. They were in about 15 cities nationwide, including Greenville, South Carolina, where they delivered a casket to the office of Senator Lindsey Graham. Listen.
Don't be silent anymore, our sisters. Don't be silent anymore, our sisters. Don't be.
Folks, in Memphis, Bishop William Barber and along with hundreds of protesters delivered caskets to the Odell Norton Federal Building there. During the event, they heard from impacted people, and Barber's message was clear: we are not going to stand down.
My name is Reverend Regina Clark, and I stand with you before you today, not just as a minister and an ordained elder, but as someone who has walked through the valleys that many of you may never imagine. I don't look like what I've been through. Let me just tell you about a reality that cuts deep, a reality created by this legislation that Dr. Bernice King, the daughter of Martin Luther King Jr., has rightfully named the bad, awful bill.
We named it the big, ugly, deadly, destructive bill. That's the name.
Big,
that's awful.
Let me hear it. Big, ugly, bad, ugly, deadly, ugly, destruction. We got it? Domestic violence survivor, that's me. Single parent, that's me. Unhoused for over 10 months, that's me too. Do you know what it's like to hold 2 master's degrees, be pursuing a doctorate, be called reverend, and still need SNAP benefits? Do you know what it's like to have survived homelessness, stabilized your life, and then watch the government punish you for serving your community? While I maintain my faith in Jeremiah 29:11 that God has plans to prosper me and not to harm me, this bill does everything possible to attack that faith and strip away that hope. To our legislators, I have urgent questions. How can you make securing health care harder? How can you eliminate student loan protections for those who are trying to better themselves? How can you strip away dignity one meal at a time? I need to know how I'm supposed to tell domestic violence survivors, students in the classrooms where I teach, veterans and community members who are on the verge of giving up to keep the faith and have hope when the government punishes us and tells us that we're not enough, even though we're working and we're serving. This law doesn't just attack our stomachs, it attacks our souls. It doesn't just cut benefits, it cuts our ability to serve. When you strip away someone's food security, you strip away their strength to lift others. When you make healthcare inaccessible, you make it impossible for people like me to stay healthy enough to serve our communities. SNAP and Medicaid are not just about dependency, they're about dignity. They're about giving people like me the foundation to serve others, to pursue education, to build communities after surviving homelessness and health crisis. I may not look like what I've been through, but I look like so many others that I've met. Those who work daily while wondering where will they sleep safely, whether they will have a nutritious meal today, and what they will do if their health can't withstand another attack. We are your teachers, your ministers, your students, and your neighbors. We are the ones holding your community together, and this bill seeks to tear us apart. Let's stand up and let's stand together.
Disciples. I just want to go back to something that Bishop Barber said. We can't just come to these rallies. We can't just think because we showed up here in Memphis, Tennessee, that we're done and you can feel good about yourself. Even if you were to be arrested, you will not have done what actually needs to be done. We have passed resolution after resolution, and I'm weary.
That's right, that's right.
I'm weary of words. I say this all the time. It is time for us to be the church that we say we are.
That's it.
A church that loves boldly enough and courageously enough that we will be not only in the streets of D.C., but in the streets of our hamlets and towns, going door to door, registering, talking to our neighbors, regardless of their station in life, regardless of their race or ethnicity, trying to help people understand from our pulpits that this is the work of the Lord.
That's right.
This is the work of God. People say, well, Terry, you're not spending enough time on evangelism.
Oh, Lord, this is it.
Let me tell you what evangelism is. Evangelism is telling people who Jesus is. And how can you know who Jesus is unless you know what Jesus cares about?
That's right.
Jesus cares about your humanity. Jesus cares that you eat, that you have a safe place to live, that you have a job where you can provide for your family, that you have an education that's not based on a zip code. Jesus cares that we understand we have enough, that none should perish, that none should go without. I'm weary, disciples. I'm weary. I'm not just marching and talking for my own health or benefit. It's because this is the work of the Lord. When we go down from this place, the disciples said, oh, it's been good to be here. Say it, Pastor. It's been good to be here. We can't stay in this place. There is work for us to do. Every resolution that we pass, you go home and say, we oppose Project 25. What am I going to do in my local community to let my legislators know? What am I going to do to mobilize people to the polls? What are we going to do, disciples?
That's it.
I'm weary.
That's it.
God is calling for more.
That's right.
Let us be the church that we say we are. I want to invite my sister who's a testifier. Dr. Lee Butler this morning talked about social theological narcissism.
That's it.
When you have decided that it's your perspective, your words, your rules, your ways that matter.
That's right.
And are the only way. But God has made us in such delicious diversity. And our differences do not make us deficient. We must hear every voice. We must respect, as John Lewis said, every spark of humanity that is within us all. We don't have the right to ignore it. So I invite my sister to come forward. Receive her. God bless you.
As the first word of the gospel, and our general minister has taught us this, is the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to preach good news to the poor.
Yes.
So anybody, pastor, doesn't know the poor in and around your church aren't preaching the gospel.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And poor, patokos is the word. It means those who've been made poor by policies of poverty and violence. And as we stand here today, even before this big, deadly, ugly, destructive bill, don't ever refer to it as a big, beautiful. Don't use that language. Big, bad, ugly, deadly, destructive bill. 800 people were dying a day from poverty. 295,000 a year. Now, the church as a whole has to repent on this. The Pew Foundation did a study and said that they studied 50,000 sermons a few years ago and said the subject and issue of poverty did not even register 1% of the sermons preached. That's why I thank you, General Minister, for calling us to task. And this is not the action I want, because people sometimes come to a rally and they think they spoke truth to power. Jim Lawson said the mass rally is for mass education. It's what you do after the rally. So if you come to the rally at General Assembly but then go home and be quiet and won't march on your senator, won't sit in at your senator's office, then you've got poetry without praxis. Because Jesus said, the word says, be hearers and doers. That's why we've got caskets. This is serious. That's why we're delivering them to Senate offices all over the South, 11 states. Deliberately delivering them, intentionally, putting a face on it. I don't know what their action is going to be when we deliver them today. And we're saying this is not just the only time we're going to do it. Just as Rosa Parks sat down, we've got to sit down, stand up, speak up in this moment. When 57 years ago, when King was here, he said nothing would be more tragic than for us to turn back now. And 57 years ago, he was here on a poor people's campaign. And 57 years later, we've got 140 million poor and low-wage people in this country, 43% of the nation, 51% of our children. And then on top of that, this bill that has put money behind murder. That's what this bill has done. And the Bible says where your heart is, that's where your treasure is. So this bill was passed by the narrowest of margins. 90 million people didn't vote last year. The Congress, as it is now, the House of Representatives, is the way it is because of only 7,000 votes. And this is the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich since chattel slavery. The only thing that might be worse is chattel slavery. This slashing of services is going to cause economic insecurity and preventable deaths. This bill invests $150 billion to hire more mask agents to raid immigrant communities. This is, somebody say mass education. And all that we do today is going to be sent to you so you can preach and teach and go, right? $150 million given to Homeland Security, and you know mask in the South. The only good person that wore a mask in the South was the Lone Ranger, and he was questionable because of the way he treated Tonto. Mask is Ku Klux Klan. Mask is the Gestapo. This bill is 1,000 pages of ugliness. This bill, 10 top ugliest things, General Minister, is death by denial of health care. And this is not Alvin Jackson or Terry Hortons or any of us just coming up with something. Yale and the University of Pennsylvania did a study and found that 51,000 people will die the first year and every year afterwards, probably going up because of this bill. And whenever you do something and you know it's going to kill somebody, that's not manslaughter, that's murder. Policy murder. And the folk already work, that's a lie about working and fraud. We're talking about disabled people. We're talking about people with diabetes and heart problems. We're talking about children with life diseases and chronic diseases.
That's right.
This bill will create a hospital apocalypse. More than 700 rural hospitals are already at risk of closing. Already. And 338 are now at risk because of this bill. Which means people will lose the golden hour. In other words, the goal of a hospital is you want one at least within an hour. If you have a heart attack, it's called the golden hour. Third, say third. This bill takes food from the mouths of hungry people so it can give more money to the greedy people. And it takes money from millions of children and veterans. Number 4, this bill squeezes states on SNAP. So it takes the money and then says to the state, you're going to have to find the money. Now, you know what's going to happen in the South when it's pushed back to the state. It either won't happen or only certain communities will benefit. This bill bars lawfully present, listen, lawfully present immigrants from aid. This whole thing about illegal, first of all, who are you to call somebody illegal? An illegal human being. And how do you call somebody illegal for being here when they didn't cross the border? We crossed the border. We stole Texas. We stole Arizona. We stole California. We stole New Mexico. This bill will terrorize even more immigrant families because of the militarization. And you know, we were told by Trump and the team that Mexico was going to build a wall. Well, now the money for the so-called wall is in the bill. And it's going to, and guess who are the private companies that are going to be contracted? This bill takes from the poor, and this bill says that the poorest 20% of households will pay an extra $1,000 or so a year. The wealthiest households will gain $300,000 a year.
All right, folks, my panel, Dr. Omekongo, being a senior professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University, author of Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racists, out of D.C. Raven Schwam Curtis, content creator and keynote speaker out of Chicago. Dr. Niambe Carter, author and associate professor, School of Public Policy, University of Maryland, joining us from D.C. Glad to have all three of you here. Niambe, I'm going to start with you. I was very critical last week of a news conference that took place in New Orleans that featured Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, Congressman Troy Carter, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and one or two of the members of Congress. And the problem that I had was, okay, they had it in New Orleans. All right, I get it. But I'm like, take the message to the district of Speaker Mike Johnson. What Bishop Barber is doing in repairs of the breach of the Poor People's Campaign, they're taking the fight to the very people who voted against it. This is where you must be hardcore challenging Mike Johnson. You must be in their face, going to their districts, driving media attention there. Because as Marc Morial said, what they've done is they've backloaded this particular bill so the cuts don't take place until after the midterms. Democrats have got to be in the face of voters, their own voters, as well as Republican voters, saying, we're going to tell you every little bitty thing about this bill and how you got screwed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think this is why there's been consistent criticism of Democrats in leadership like Jeffries, like Schumer, that they're just not ready for the challenge because they don't seem to want to get out there and fight. And this is not going to be something that is won in the halls of Congress. I mean, we can give that up. I mean, today we saw the Supreme Court essentially expand the power of the office of the president. He can dismantle agencies now with no congressional approval. So doing this through the usual channels is not going to work. And one of the things that Moral Mondays taught us, you know, over 10 years ago when the first round started in North Carolina, is that this can't be a one-off. It is consistent, and it has to be all kinds of communities engaged. And right now, given what's happened in Missouri with the tornado, what's happened in Texas with the flooding, I mean, this is a prime time for this Democratic Party to pull itself together and bring in not only their voters, but those people who might have been persuaded by a Trump, or those people who are like, I'm not sure if I'm really a Republican, but I liked his message. Bring those people in, because now they're actually seeing and reaping the whirlwind of what the chaos that this administration has brought thus far. And the fact that they are not thinking that way, the fact that they're not being more proactive, is, I think, one of the things that is consistently infuriating, and why we are seeing some of the upsets like we saw with Mom Donnie in New York. And I think the Democrats, if they don't get it together, they're going to lose in the midterm.
And the thing here, Raven, is not what you say, it's how you say it. It's how it is presented. And you have to start from the premise, because right-wing media is not doing it. These folks are not getting the information. Fox News is not talking about it. Conservative talk radio is not talking about it. So what you have to do is go there, force them to cover it, and tell the people, we're going to tell you what's really happening in D.C. and the impact on you here.
Absolutely. And I think a big part of this fight as well is social media, right? I mean, my job all day, every day, is yapping on the internet about all things education and politics. And unfortunately, what we're seeing per this Media Matters study that came out just a couple of months ago is that the right is winning the media game. They're outspending us. There are more of them, and they have bigger followings. So as someone who is part of the progressive ecosystem, everyone in this space that we're sharing tonight, we have a grave responsibility to not only disseminate progressive messaging in the online ecosystem, but also to amplify what people are doing on the grassroots level. And that's what we're really here talking about today. I also think something that really jumped out to me as we were watching those faith leaders talk about why they're gathering in this moment was this verbiage of social theological narcissism. Social theological narcissism that like jumped out to me. And I think we have to talk about the big ugly bill through the lens and paradigm of Christian nationalism, right? Because when I say Christian nationalism, I mean the particular taking up and reading of Christianity that is then turned into something myopic and makes Christianity perform a certain kind of work it was never intended to perform, a certain kind of work that actually, as those faith leaders were naming, betrays, the teachings of Christianity and the teachings of Jesus in a way that is actively harming their constituents. And I think for me, what was really blatantly a slap in the face as we were watching all these proceedings around the big ugly bill unfold was the fact that Republican senators, after they passed the big ugly bill, what did they do? They gathered to pray. After they stripped away your access to Medicaid, to SNAP, to Pell Grants, to critical social safety nets, they prayed. That is such a slap in the face to the American people. It is a slap in the face, particularly to the constituents of these Republican members of Congress who rely heavily on these services, right? Heavily on these services. On average, red states are poorer and sicker. And so I think it's really just an abomination, and we absolutely have a responsibility on the commentary side to amplify the harm that's being caused in real time.
And Congo, it has to be aggressive. It has to be constant. You must be pounding. I mean, at the end, I'm telling you, you got to be dispatching people across the country. And again, it's how you do it, how you convey the message. And I just think that, too often I'm not seeing enough of them do that. And you have to make the assumption that the people are going to be hurt the most. They're not getting the message in a consistent way, and that's how you must deliver. Say, no, we got it. No, we're going to do that. And then keep that pressure on them and force them to have to answer to it. Like, perfect example, there's a provision in this bill that teachers can't even deduct up to the max they get is up to $300 if they buy their own supplies for the classrooms. Yet somebody can deduct 100% of a private jet. You got to be talking about that.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And it's not only the importance of talking about it, but like you said, where you talk about it. I loved your segment last week about Mike Johnson and showing up at his door. What makes no sense to me is, why aren't these Democrats? They should be partnering with Reverend Barber, and everywhere they do a Moral Mondays event, there should be a representative there. The part of this that is really sad is that the Democrats don't have to build a coalition from the ground. They already exist with Moral Mondays, organizations like Indivisible. We can run down the list. And, Obama talked about this apparently last week at a fundraiser about how Democrats need to be tougher in what they're doing. Democrats do not need to reinvent the wheel. They need to get with the people who are leading the movements. And I believe one of your panelists last week, when you were doing the Mike Johnson segment, said, who even saw what Hakeem Jeffries and them did in Louisiana? Right? Because where are the press announcements? We're letting the Black Star Network know this is where we're going to be, letting other people know where we're going to be. So it's about toughening up. It's about what you say, but it's also important about where you say it. And they can't just keep going on, the video feed on their congressional page or their senatorial page, or, the random visits to random radio stations. They are not concerted and they are not organized. There are so many. Look at those. Where have they harnessed the No Kings energy? I know that many of them appeared at many of those rallies, but what have they done since then? There's so much energy out there. People are waiting for this. They're hungry for their leadership to represent. And just like Dr. Nyambi was saying, you cannot take these midterms for granted, especially with the election shenanigans that you talked about with your other guests a few weeks ago, and then possibly messing with voting booths and all of these other types of things. If they don't stop taking this stuff for granted, I'm very nervous about 2026 if they don't get it together now.
Well, absolutely. And so, we're going to keep reaching people, teaching people, letting them know what's going on. All right, going to go to a quick break. Ooh, y'all, I just love MAGA orange tears. One of the folks in Texas, we need help. But they pull the receipts. What does she say when other people talk about they needed government help? Wait till I play this video for y'all. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Black women are starting businesses at the fastest rate than any other segment. However, finding the funding to build them is challenging. On our next Get Wealthy, we're going to talk with author Catherine Finney, who wrote the book, Build the Damn Thing. And she's going to be sharing exactly what we need to do to achieve success in spite of the odds.
As an entrepreneur of color, it's first, building your personal advisory board. I think that's one of the things that's helped me the most. The personal advisory board are the people who are in the business of you personally, and want to see you succeed.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
We're digging into the immigration crisis that's happening here right now.
It can impact each and every one of us. We're going to break down the topic of this constitutional crisis that is being led by the Trump administration and what you, as ordinary citizens, can do to speak up and speak out to fight back. This is The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Jamia Pugh. I am from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, just an hour right outside of Philadelphia.
My name is Jasmine Pugh. I'm also from Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Y'all, I can't get enough of these MAGA people who voted for Trump. And now they're begging. This time, a MAGA woman in Texas, crying, begging for help after the community devastated by deadly floods. But in this video, you also see the other side of her.
For you. You can't be MAGA.
I am MAGA
and a Christian.
And a Christian. This is crazy. I know we're not Kirk County. I know we're not Kerrville. I know we're not San Angelo or San Antonio. But hell, we're human beings.
Uh-oh, I think you woke up this morning misinformed. The hate's on the left, not on the MAGA side. What you gonna do, crybaby?
With Alligator
I'll wear Alligator Alcatraz merch if I want to. And what you gonna do, baby?
Help us. Give us what we need.
I'm going to tell you FA and FO. We're not going to help out anybody. Y'all been living on food stamps, EBT, Section 8 housing your entire freaking life. And you're not going to do it anymore. If you can work, you're an able-bodied person, go get a job. I'm tired of paying for it.
But for God's sakes, Travis County, help us.
Have the day you deserve.
Really? It's amazing, Raven, how those words, those angry, go get a job, go do it yourself, you don't need the government. It always happens. They're the biggest whiners and criers when they get in trouble.
Absolutely, Roland. I mean, I couldn't help but laugh as I was watching this video, unfortunately. Obviously, the devastation in Texas is awful, regardless of one's sort of political affiliation. I grew up in Texas, for context. Houston is home for me. And so I still have family there, and I've felt the impact of these floods very, very personally. I mean, look, I think the unfortunate truth here is that they don't care until the ramifications of putting these bigots in positions of power reach their doorstep. They don't care. And I think also what we're hearing in sort of this contradiction of her, begging for help and empathy, but also sort of regurgitating this far right discourse around, food stamps and EBT and Section 8 is really the result of successful messaging on the right. The right has so effectively painted these social safety nets as tools that only or predominantly benefit Black and brown people. But the truth is, white folks benefit tremendously from these programs. Around 45% of all adult SNAP recipients are white. Approximately 49% of Section 8 residents are white. But during the Reagan era, this misogynistic idea of the welfare queen, which essentially was their idea of a Black single mother with a bunch of babies on her hip from different fathers, was so powerfully and effectively disseminated that is still how people imagine these social safety nets and who's benefiting from them. They imagine it as all Black and brown folks who are taking advantage of these apparatuses. And even if that were the case, y'all, social safety nets are a sign of a functioning and compassionate democracy, not an indicator of failure. So I really see this individual as reflecting this successful dissemination of that far-right messaging, unfortunately, in that contradiction we're seeing.
But Congo's no different than Republican senators like Rand Paul and Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, voting against disaster relief, and then all of a sudden when their states are hit, oh my God, we need help. I mean, this is the fundamental problem. And so, yeah, I don't give a damn about her tears. I mean, I hate to go there. I'm a native of Texas, but these are the people who are assholes to everybody else until they have to face destruction.
Yeah, and you can also add it to conversations about immigration as well. They get mad until their cook gets taken from their favorite restaurant, or their relative's niece gets taken from their, favorite place or of school because they happen to be Latino. Like, the level of selfishness is amazing, but not surprising. And though many people don't give a damn about these folks at all when they see these FAFO moments, this kind of ties back to our last segment. This is a prime opportunity for Democrats. Because when these folks, once she gets the services, kind of going to Raven's point, like once she gets the services, she's going to go right back to her other videos about y'all are just welfare queens, y'all care about it, once she gets theirs. And this is an opportunity for Democrats in these areas or Democrats running for statewide offices to go down to these places and really talk to them about what happened and how they're going to get the services that they need and convince them that it is actually okay that other people get access to these services as well that you're begging for right now. This could be a prime opportunity for the Democrats, while many other folks are laughing at her, saying, screw her and all of this other type of stuff. There's a political opportunity here because too many of these guys, they complain and whine, but once they get their services or once they get their help, they disappear. Democrats should do the work to bring them in. These are potentially independent voters.
Absolutely. And you know what, Niambi? There were actually Mexican volunteers who crossed the border to help folks in Kerr County in this search. And it's interesting that Trump and others, they praised other countries. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, he praised other states and the countries for help, but he said nothing about those Mexican volunteers. I wonder why.
Well, we know about Roland, right? I mean, it's the racism once again costing Americans. I mean, quite frankly, the Americans don't deserve Mexicans' help in their largesse in this moment. I mean, they had the indignity of essentially marching those people right back across the border without so much as a thank you. I mean, these were people who were saving Texans when the local government and other agencies were just not able to do it. And yet we treat them like they were coming here to invade when in fact they were doing what we would expect any neighbor to do, which is be an assistant, to be a help in a time of tragedy, putting all of the rational and reasonable reasons that Mexico had not to intervene and just watch Texas suffer. They still said, no, we're going to have these people come and assist. And I think this is something that both my co-panelists, both Raven and Omakongo, have said over and over again. These people want other people to hurt. They don't actually care about the pain, just as long as they don't have to shoulder it. They're happy for Black and brown and under-resourced and poor communities to shoulder the burden of environmental calamities, to have to deal with the havoc that these immigration raids and other draconian policies are going to cause until it happens to them. And we're going to see the very same thing with education. Once their kids stop getting the services that the Department of Education might provide or make their local school provide for them, we're going to see these very same people talking about how their child is being harmed because they are not getting access to the resources that they need under, say, the Americans with Disabilities Act. And this is the same thing, whether it's immigration, environment, etc. The pain was the point. They just didn't want to shoulder it themselves. And when everybody kept telling them, hey, you all, if they take away SNAP, they take away food stamps, they take away housing assistance, they take away free lunch, that's going to hurt y'all too. They thought they were only going to do it to the Black and the brown people. And now that they're feeling it, now they're like, oh, well, maybe this isn't such a good idea. But I guarantee once they get the help that they want, once they get the help that they need, they will be ready to pull that ladder up one more time for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. And it happens over and over and over again. It is sitting in our very eyes. And I just sit here and I'm like, y'all, I mean, we can dance around this all we want to, but it's there. And so I just don't understand how people don't see it, don't understand it. And again, the cry is going to continue. And Omakongo, listen, the storms are going to continue, the hurricanes are going to continue. And I can't wait to see these people then say, well, no, y'all voted for this. And then when they say, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yeah. Oh, you weren't paying attention, but you voted for it.
That's right. That's right. The chaos is the point. They wanted the chaos. They want destruction. And this is what Trump plays into regularly. And it goes down to the LBJ quotation that we've used all of the time here that Dr. Madison used to say, in summarizing it, he convinced white people to look down on other people. And once he did that, they emptied their pockets for him. Period, bottom line. And whether, Dr. Niambi's talking about education, we can talk about Medicare. I mean, look at the tax bill and this idea. But I also feel like some of them, really are nihilistic, really like want everything to burn. They don't want anybody to get ahead, even if it means that they won't get ahead as well. And that's for that, real hardcore base that's riding with him. They can stomach maybe even losing Medicare and all of these different things as long as that brown person doesn't get it too. They can stomach, seeing the Department of Education fold as long as these ICE raids continue. This zero-sum game mentality that so many of them have been raised with is extremely evil. And some will come around. Some will say, this is not what I voted for. This is not America. But really, at the end of the day, as it's been said here already, they voted for it to not happen to them. And once we start getting more of the Reverend Barbers out there who talks about common humanity, finding common ground, and appeal to them from that level, we're not going to get all of them, but we need to just get enough of them to be able to sway some of these votes, because I'm still not convinced that many of us are going to be coming out in this next election either. So again, this is a political opportunity for leadership, but we need to call them out for who these people are and what they're doing. And nobody should have been mad for Hillary Clinton for calling them deplorable, because that's exactly what their actions are.
Folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back. We're going to talk about Alligator Alcatraz in Florida. We'll talk with a state representative who actually toured the facility and can share his own perspective on that. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we look at one of the most influential and prominent Black Americans of the 20th century. His work literally changed the world. Among other things, he played a major role in creating the United Nations. He was the first African American and first person of color to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And yet today, he is hardly a household name. We're talking, of course, about Ralph J. Bunche. A new book refers to him as the absolutely indispensable man.
His lifelong interest and passion in racial justice, specifically in the form of colonialism. And he saw his work as an activist and advocate for the Black community here in the United States as just the other side of the coin of his work trying to roll back European empire in Africa.
Author Cal Rostiala will join us to share his incredible story. That's on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
Now that Roland Martin is willing to give me the blueprint, hey, Cyrus, I need to go to Tyler Perry and get another blueprint because I need some green money. The only way I can do what I'm doing, I need to make some money. So you'll see me working with Roland. Matter of fact, it's the Roland Martin and Cheryl Underwood show. Well, should it be the Cheryl Underwood show and the Roland Martin show? Well, whatever show it's going to be, it's going to be good.
Hundreds of detained migrants are confined in cages inside tents at what critics are calling Trump's Alligator Alcatraz. It is located deep in the Florida Everglades and surrounded by swamps and pythons. The controversial migrant jail has drawn sharp criticism. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis called the facility, quote, safe and secure, while Democratic lawmakers describe it as humane. One of those folks who visited the facility over the weekend is State Senator Shevrin Jones. He visited Jones now to talk about what he saw. So first and foremost, Representative Jones, you and others described just the shameful and inhumane conditions there.
Yeah, Roland. So, first, I think it's important to point out that when we got there to the facility the first time when my colleagues and I went on July 3rd, we went because they told us that it was a state-run facility. And based on the Florida statute, it gives us the ability to go into any state-run or county-run facility unannounced. And that's exactly what we did. But we were stopped at first by police officers and Marine guards to let us know that we could not come in. We asked them to come out and for their director to come out so we can talk to them. He came out and said that he was directed by the Florida Department of Emergency Management not to allow us in. So we asked if we could speak to the general counsel. We spoke with their general counsel, Stephanie, who told us that we had to come back because the conditions were unsafe for us to be there. But mind you, the president had just been there the day before. Fast forward to just last week, congressional members They made it clear that they were going to do a surprise visit. It got out to the Florida Department of Emergency Management. And what did they do? They sent an email out to Congress, and they sent an email out to the Florida Senate and also to the state reps, and opened up the facility to everyone, giving them enough time to clean up whatever they need to clean up. And then we go into this sanitized facility of a tour. Here's what I will tell you, Roland. When we got into the tour, they took us in and directed us of where and who we will be able to talk with and who we will not be able to talk with. So much so that even in the intake, individuals were lined up and they were preparing to get their medical attention that was necessary, but they would not take us into the medical facility. The one time we were able to get into, to even be able to see what was going on inside and ask, can we see the inmates? They blocked us with contracted security guards from even being able to go in where it was 81 degrees in the spot where we were sitting. And individuals that were in there, they started yelling out, "Libertad, libertad, libertad." That doesn't sound like individuals who are harmed. It's someone calling out freedom and liberty and inhumane treatments that's happening. That's what's happening in the state of Florida right now.
Saw one story that said that most of the people there, they're not violent criminals at all, that they're just shipping anybody there.
That's exactly what's happening, Roland. What you have is these are not new people. These are individuals who are being shipped from other centers and other detention centers. For example, we know that Chrome in Miami is full. And so they're taking individuals from facilities like Chrome and from facilities all across the country, and they're bringing them into the facility, and they're making it seem as if they're rallying up new immigrants. And that's not the case. These are not new immigrants. Second thing is this idea that this is the worst of the worst that's inside this facility. That's also not true. Individuals who are inside the facility are some people who have civil infractions. I'm talking about driving with a suspended license. And on their way to work type of individuals. And each person is separated by a wristband. You either get a red wristband, which means the most severe, an orange wristband, that means like medium security, and then you get the yellow wristband, meaning that they are no risk at all. And those individuals are also within inside the facility. And so this idea that these people are harmful, then that's absolutely not true. Here's what I will say. The question was asked, Shevrin, what is one thing that you would be able to get on board with? If they were genuinely arresting criminals in the state of Florida or across the country, I could get behind that, because me nor you, Roland, would want criminals in the state or within the country, but that's not what they're doing.
Well, and also the building of this, DeSantis lied to state lawmakers, lied to the public.
Well, because the governor, what he did was he deemed this as an emergency. So what does that do? That allows him unfettered power to where he does not have to get legislative authority. He can do no bid contracts, which he did, where he has given out the contracts to many of his GOP donors. And that's exactly what you see. I'm talking upwards of $200 million worth of contracts of individuals who are now subcontracted. To be honest with you, Roland, this site is absolutely being run as exactly like a private prison in the state of Florida. You have the contract security guards who are there. You have the contract food that's there, and they are even using the terminology when it comes to it being under prison standards. It is being run like a prison. I'm talking about individuals even with having chains. $450 million. $450 million. And the governor and his office know better, because they know that anything over $500 million, even in an emergency, you have to get legislative approval. Here's the question. Why didn't the governor, during the 105-day legislative session, by mind you, which should have been 60, why didn't he bring that to the legislature? You know why? Because he knew he would not be able to get it across the finish line in the House, because they're not his friend. He knew he wouldn't be able to get it across the finish line in the Senate, because I know that they're not his friend. Many of them are not. And so that's why he went with this route, deeming this as an emergency. But guess what? In the middle of hurricane season.
Questions from the panel. Mekongo, you first.
Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention, because so many of us across the country have been really concerned about what's going on there. One story I heard was that somebody shouted out to you while you were there that they were an American citizen. I believe I heard Representative Maxwell Frost talk about that. Is this something that you've also been looking into?
So the fact that, well, Congressman Frost and I were in the same group. We were in group one together, and we did hear an individual yell out that I am an American citizen. Congressman Frost, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and Congressman Jared Moskowitz and Congressman Soto, when they found out that that was the case, they did ask Stephanie, the general counsel, that they would like that gentleman's information, and it was told to them that they were going to follow up with them.
Thank you.
Niambi.
Thank you, Representative Jones, on this. What do you think the general public needs to know? Because most of us will never see this space. We will never enter this place. What do you think we need to know, not just about the conditions there and how the people are being held, but what do we need to know that we can sort of use politically and otherwise to address this facility, if you will? Not using that very
I feel that. At first, I need people to understand that this is a litmus test, right? This is an actual litmus test. I mean, because they have already whistleblowed what they want to happen. They want every Republican state to build what's happening in Florida. And I'm gonna be very honest with people, and I hope people are listening, that this is not just for Hispanics. Just know that we have Haitian migrants. We have Jamaican migrants who are Black, who I can guarantee you that this is not where they're going to stop. They're trying to test and see how far they can go. And so if the public, what I want them to understand is that this is not one of those things where we say we need to sit back and not say anything. Oh, hell no, that is not actually how we need to roll. Because the saying that I've heard Roland say before, and I hear people say it all the time, when they come for one, they come for all. This is that instant that we're talking about right now.
Thank you.
Raven?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for illuminating these truths and for your eyewitness account. I think my question is really about what you named in terms of being hurricane season, right? My mind kind of goes to Hurricane Milton and the 28,000 incarcerated people who were held in jails and prisons in these mandatory evacuation zones and essentially left to die. So can you speak to us a little bit more about your sense of what happens if there's a hurricane, right, at this internment camp?
That's a very good question. And just so you all know that where this is located, I'm gonna walk you all through briefly. You have this site that is in the middle of the Everglades that was owned by Miami-Dade County. Because was deemed as an emergency, it gave the governor the power to be able to basically seize that property from Miami-Dade County. This property, about 15, 20 years ago, Miami-Dade County was going to build a facility on this site. Environmentalists told Miami-Dade County that it was not a good idea and it was not environmentally safe to be able to do it. Plus, it was built on they were building on tribal land. Now what you see is that 30 miles each way is how far land is. So if a hurricane was to come, they have over 1,000 inmates, detainees, that's in this internment camp. And they would have to be able to figure out how to evacuate them. The question was asked while we were there, what is you all's evacuation plan? They said that the evacuation plan that they have is the same evacuation plan that they would use if an emergency was called. But the question is, we've never had a center like this. There's never been a detention center like this. So they don't know what they will do if that would happen. By mind you, currently right now, we have a tropical depression that is on the west coast of Florida that has a 30% chance of formation that's doing what? It's about to head directly for the direction of where the internment camp is at. And
so what's next for Florida? Go ahead.
Roland, here's what I want to say. That the emergency money, the emergency dollars that the state of Florida is using on this, they're calling it and saying that it can be reimbursed from FEMA, but FEMA has already made it clear that what this would fall under, that the state of Florida does not qualify for it. So here's the only thing that can happen, Roland. we don't go back into committee week until October the 6th. And so by the time October 6th happens, we don't know what will happen with this site. But here's what I do know. They are preparing to open up another one in Jacksonville, which is supposed to be the permanent site. The question is the legislature going to give Governor DeSantis the money to be able to do it? Why? Because they've already spent the emergency money that he will have been allotted to him.
All right, then. Representative Shevrin Jones, I surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much, and keep up the fight.
Yes, sir.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right, folks, headed to a break. We come back more on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funds fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. You support this show, all the other shows on the Black Star Network, our special live broadcast when we travel. And so, listen, it takes money to make all this happen, so your support is critical. Cash App, you want to give me a Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Click the Cash App pay button to contribute. Checks and money orders, make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on the other side of change.
We're digging into the immigration crisis that's happening here right now.
It can impact each and every one of us. We're going to break down the topic of this constitutional crisis that is being led by the Trump administration and what you, as ordinary citizens, can do to speak up and speak out to fight back. This is The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, the Supreme Court has allowed Donald Trump to dismantle the Department of Education. They overturned an injunction from a lower court, allowing him to fire thousands of Department of Education workers. Of course, they're being sued by state governments as a result of this, some $6.8 billion in funding. And it's really Supreme Court allowing this man to do whatever he wants to do. This is what a lot of people feared with the Supreme Court weighed in on these nationwide injunctions, Niambi. This is what we're now faced with. And so we're seeing this one by one, how SCOTUS is allowing this man to do what the hell he wants to do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we talked about this before here, Roland. I mean, when Ellie Lister was here, when I was last here, and what they're doing is essentially punting on the substance and saying whether this is right on a procedural ground. And I think, of course, on procedural grounds, this is wrong. And it's always telling the fact that when they do these sort of emergency or shadow kind of rulings, that they don't have to sort of publicly proclaim what they voted for and what their rationale is. But I think the dissents have been speaking volumes about this, because what they're doing is essentially setting the stage so that there will be no additional sort of sharing of power to come forward. I mean, I think we always assume there will always be another election, and that next election can undo the damage that is caused here. But Donald Trump told you in 2024, when they was running, we might not have to do any elections again. And I think he sincerely means that. And it seems, at least for the time being, this Supreme Court is allowing him to amass the most power he can so that he can follow through on those kinds of promises. Now, that also means that they're potentially hastening their own demise as an institution. But I think for now, at least, it seems like the majority is very clear that they think of this as an imperial presidency, and they're giving him every opportunity and every tool to be that. And that's what his state of desire was, and they're following through on it. And it's, you know, us, essentially, right, the people who have to live with this and the fallout of all of this.
Raven, we are constantly trying to explain to people that elections have consequences. Trump was able to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices because, frankly, a lot of people didn't like Hillary Clinton in 2016.
That's right, Roland. I mean, what we're seeing is a complete obfuscation of checks and balances. There's a MAGA majority in the Supreme Court, and they are doing his bidding. That's not how it's supposed to work, but that's how it's unfolding. Now, as it pertains to the Department of Education, they told us they were going to dismantle it. I cannot sing this from the mountaintops enough. They literally wrote it out in Project 2025, and I feel like that fell out of the news cycle, but I'm going to bring it back in because we need to continually talk about it. There's a Project 2025 tracker online right now that shows that about 46% of the things they said they were going to do in Project 2025 that Trump swore up and down that he wasn't affiliated with, they've done. And we're only 6 months into his presidency, right? So I really think that's important to underline. They told us they were going to do this. It's like villain 101 behavior in a corny superhero movie where the villain has a superhero tied up and they tell them exactly what they're going to do. We know what the playbook is. It's unfolding right in front of us. And we have a responsibility to continue to amplify the ways that Trump and his cronies are continually betraying their constituents and everything that's good and whole and democratic about this country. I mean, this isn't the first time that we've seen him just absolutely defy court orders. This isn't the first time we've seen him absolutely defy protections like due process. I mean, when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was deported without due process and the courts told him to bring him back, he threw up his hands and he was like, we're not going to do that, right? So I think it's really evident that Trump believes that he's above the law. He's absolutely abusing his positionality, and we need to continue to use our apparatuses and the power that we have to make that clear to the folks who follow us.
Omikango?
This is going to be another FAFO moment for many people throughout the United States as it relates to the Department of Education, because not only do we have the real issues relating to what's going to be happening in our K-12 institutions as it relates to lack of funding, lack of paraprofessionals that are going to be in classrooms to help, lack of occupational therapists to help students with various disabilities, school lunches and the like, but there's also the college side of it as well and what they're doing as it relates to getting rid of things like the loan forgiveness programs. So they're getting people as it relates to how they repay their college loans, right? Including possibly garnishing people's wages if they get behind. And then also with the job cuts that are happening across the country, they're making it more difficult for people to be able to actually apply to go to college. And then they're also messing with the Pell Grants. So from kindergarten through the university level, this dismantling is going to affect every community. And we just have to be mindful of the fact that we are dealing with all 3 branches of government working in tandem to destroy this country for those who are not at the wealthiest levels of the society. That is what's happening, from the Congress and the Senate giving Trump everything that he wants, to the Supreme Court giving Trump everything that he wants, to Trump running roughshod across the entire country because he wants to be king. This is where we are in society. And the sooner more of us realize that, the sooner we can actually organize a stronger resistance to it before it's too late.
Indeed. All right, folks, quick break. We come back. We'll talk about St. Augustus University, more drama at that institution in Raleigh, North Carolina. Back in a moment.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we look at one of the most influential and prominent Black Americans of the 20th century. His work literally changed the world. Among other things, he played a major role in creating the United Nations. He was the first African American and first person of color to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And yet today, he is hardly a household name. We're talking, of course, about Ralph J. Bunche. A new book refers to him as the absolutely indispensable man.
His lifelong interest and passion in racial justice, specifically in the form of colonialism. And he saw his work as an activist and advocate for the Black community here in the United States as just the other side of the coin of his work trying to roll back European empire in Africa.
Author Cal Rastiala will join us to share his incredible story. That's on the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
We're digging into the immigration crisis that's happening here right now.
That can impact each and every one of us. We're going to break down the topic of this constitutional crisis that is being led by the Trump administration and what you, as ordinary citizens, can do to speak up and speak out to fight back. This is The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Farquhar, executive producer of Proud Family. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, folks, New York Mayor Eric Adams not too happy that former Governor Andrew Cuomo is staying in the mayoral race. Now, remember, there's a lot of talk that Cuomo was going to drop out after he lost in the primary to Zohran Mamdani. Well, guess what? He was still on the ticket on another group's line. And so he had today made it official that I ain't going nowhere. Let's just say Eric Adams is not taking it so well, saying that he went against his word about dropping out. A lot of people want Cuomo to drop out, to solidify support around Adams, to stop Mamdani. I think all of this is absolutely hilarious, Raven, because, like, really? Y'all scare that man so much? And here's the deal. They're trying, oh, it's socialist, he's communist. He just actually ran a better campaign.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think, Roland, you're spot on. We have a huge problem in the Democratic Party of people not knowing when to sit it down. Let someone else step into leadership that is feeling more resonant with constituents in this moment. That is a huge problem. It's why we had 3 members of Congress, Democratic members of Congress, pass away while in office. Open your hand and let it go. I think in this moment, you know, I'm really thinking about other, like my friends who are running for office, right? Deja Fox, Kat, who's running in the 6th district here in Illinois. I'm thinking of Isaiah Martin. Like, it is so paramount that this space be created for new leadership, new voices, and certainly when the folks who are incumbent have not been serving their constituents in the way that they should be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing in Niambi that go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I said, just to echo what Ray said, I think we've seen this so many times where we have these legacy leaders and we know why they're there, right? Seniority is how the body works or typically works in many cases, whether in the state or federal level. But these folks stay and stay and stay. And the longer it seems that they stay, the more out of touch that they get. And not on every issue and not on everything. And it's not to suggest that there is nothing to offer here. But clearly in the case of New York, right? Not only did Mamdani run a better campaign, but he was speaking to New Yorkers about the things that actually matter to them. They don't want just to fight against rats. People need somewhere to live. People are being displaced all around that city. And he actually had a message that people want to hear. So whether you can call him a socialist or not, that's not a dirty word. We treat it like it is. It's not. What he's saying is what the people of New York want to hear right now. And all that Adams and Cuomo care about is power. And so they're going to probably end up splitting the vote. And that's why Eric Adams is upset, not because he thinks it's time for him to step aside or he has a better message.
Well, I guess for me, I just sort of laugh at all of this. And I see the people being, really upset and all sort of stuff. Like, here's a perfect example. This was a video. First of all, let's do this here, okay? So give me 1 second. So Cuomo, I'm going to play a couple of videos, so give me 1 second. So Cuomo dropped a video explaining why he was staying in the race. And so let me go ahead and just play this right now and get y'all thoughts on it. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Andrew. And unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know that the Democratic primary did not go the way I had hoped. To the 440,000 New Yorkers who voted for me, a sincere thank you. Thank you for believing in me, in my agenda, and in my experience. And I am truly sorry that I let you down. But as my grandfather used to say, when you get knocked down, learn the lesson and pick yourself back up and get in the game. And that is what I'm going to do. The fight to save our city isn't over. Only 13% of New Yorkers voted in the June primary. The general election is in November, and I am in it to win it. My opponent, Mr. Mamdani, offers slick slogans, but no real solutions. We need a city with lower rent, safer streets, where buying your first home is once again possible, where childcare won't bankrupt you. That's the New York City we know. That's the one that is still possible. You haven't given up on it, and you deserve a mayor with the experience and ideas to make it happen again, and the guts to take on anyone who stands in the way. Every day I'm going to be hitting the streets, meeting you where you are, to hear the good and the bad, problems and solutions. Because for the next few months, it's my responsibility to earn your vote. So let's do this. I'll see you out there.
All right, so that was Cuomo laying out the case, and of course,
on primary night,
had no problem speaking on this issue as well. So here's what he had to say.
I welcome everyone to this race, and I am as confident as I have been since 3 weeks ago on primary night, when we faced Andrew Cuomo then, and won that race by more than 12 points, with the most votes of any Democratic nominee in New York City primary history. And we did so because of the fact that while Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams trip over themselves to make deals in back rooms with billionaires, we are focused on fighting for working New Yorkers. I think he's struggling to come to terms with what Tuesday meant. We spent an entire campaign being told that it was inevitable for Andrew Cuomo to become the next mayor. And he believed that himself. And what we saw was New Yorkers' hunger for a new kind of politics. A politics focused on working people. A politics where far more New Yorkers than before could see themselves in it, in those same policies. And I understand that it is difficult for the former governor to come to terms with that, because it is a repudiation of the politics that he has practiced, that he has known for so many years. And it is that same politics that we are turning the page on.
So
I welcome everyone
that's what he
to
laid
this
out.
race.
I don't get it. Give me 1 second. I love these people who are mad, upset. But here's the piece, and I keep going back to this, Raven. I constantly go back to this. Voters vote. You can stand here and say, I'm the best, oh, Mamdani doesn't get specifics, but they actually voted. They voted. And I think all the people who are attacking him, they're calling him anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, oh my God, he's a socialist, he's a communist. They can throw all those phrases out, but they still have to get over the hump. The people voted. You have to now ask, why did more of them vote for him than Cuomo and the other candidates? That's what you got to be focusing on if you're Adams and Cuomo for the general.
That's right. That's absolutely right. I mean, the people have spoken and they want Mom Donnie. You know, I think it's really important to underline here, too, that a lot of the accusations of anti-Semitism are tied to his critiques of Israel. I know this has been said ad nauseum, but as a Black and Jewish person who feels very strongly about this, I feel the need to reiterate, it is not anti-Semitic to critique Israel, okay? If that's the case, then a lot of Jewish people are anti-Semitic. And I know the folks that I'm in coalition with, that I'm thinking through with, that I'm imagining freedom with as it pertains to what's happening in the Middle East are not. And I think a lot of those claims are unfair, frankly. And that anti-Semitism has become this tool, this weapon that gets wielded so casually to the point that it's become emptied out of meaning, which is actually very dangerous because anti-Semitism is a real issue and is a real struggle that is fundamentally intersectional, which I say to you as I sit here as a Black, Jewish, and queer woman, right, who is impacted by all these modalities of subjugation simultaneously. So I think that's important to name first and foremost. And I think what's so attractive about him as a candidate to constituents in New York is that what he's really offering us is a working class consciousness, right? That is the invitation. That is the opening. And that is what we have so desperately needed in the Democratic Party for a minute now. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of folks who are Democratic, who are in these positions of power, who are bending the knee to billionaire interests. We're not immune to that. We talk about it a lot as it pertains to the right, but that doesn't mean it's exclusive to them by any means. And so someone who stands on business, who is fighting for the working class, who is actively and sincerely building multiracial coalitions, that's not only attractive to voters, it's more important and paramount than ever before as we are experiencing the rise of fascism in this country.
Well, and it's just laughable when you look at MAGA and their responses to all of this, Omekongo, because you're just playing into his hands. And also this idea that somehow he represents all Democrats in America, that's stupid.
Yeah, it really is. And that's what they do well. But I repeat, that is what Republicans do well. Their marketing strategy, they stay on message. They stay on message and they stick with it. A lot of the name calling we see as relates to Mamdani, we saw with Obama because he was Barack Hussein Obama, run down the list. They already have the narratives, going out there about him. What I also find interesting is that we talked about Democrats earlier. I've seen Democrats slow in New York and at the national level to come around and embrace him, besides the obvious Bernies and AOCs and the like. Hakeem Jeffries said he's looking forward to meeting him. But other people in New York, like Tom Suozzi, are like, hey, he's a Democratic socialist, but I'm a Democratic capitalist. And Richie Torres as well, talking about, I'm ready to coexist with him if I need to. So it's like they're not even coalescing around him right now. And that is a real problem. Look, it is obvious that having Eric Adams and Cuomo in there, it has potential to splinter a lot of things. But like Cuomo said, there's a lot of people who didn't come out. And there's now that people have, Mamdani has their attention, it can be a little bit different. The last part I would say is that people go into all of this socialist talk, and of course he defines himself as a democratic socialist. But when you hear Cuomo talking, he's talking about things that we could call socialists in that ad. Affordability, people being able to live in a nice home, be able to afford daycare. Sounds a lot like Mamdani's policies to me. So these guys want to just argue over terminology, but if they don't embrace some of the policies that he's talking about, I can't see how either of them are going to beat him.
Also, I think stuff like this helps him as well. Listen to this.
It was, Representative. We got them all. Please, behind you, please. No, you.
Oh, me? So this is for the Prime Minister. The likely next mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, and a vocal critic of Israel and of yourself, and has said he would arrest you if you came to New York City if he was mayor. Is that something you take seriously, or are you concerned about that? Do you have a response to that?
No, I'm not concerned about that.
I'll get him out.
Look, there's enough craziness in the world, but I guess it never ends. I mean, you have this is folly, and it's it's silly in many ways because it's just not serious. But what is serious is the question I was asked before. After October 7th, people said the Palestinians had a state, Hamas state in Gaza, and look what they did with it. They didn't build it up; they built down into bunkers, into terror tunnels, after which they massacred our people, raped our women, beheaded our men, invaded our cities and our towns and our kibbutzim and did horrendous massacres, the kind of which we didn't see since World War II and the Nazis.
Listen, I see him as saying, all right, I'm going to give as good as I can get. Like, you'll give it to me, I'm going to give it back. That's how I see it. Niambi?
But I mean, I think this is, again, what people are so turned off by and why Mamdani comes to the fore and is attractive. Because people are sick of this sort of lack of nuance. Because while we can talk about October 7th and that it was horrendous, the response to October 7th has been, I think, by most charitable definitions, outsized and inhumane, downright inhumane. And so I think this sort of sitting here as if this is about the state of Israel and about Jewish people is insincere, and it skirts the larger issue around Palestinian people's humanity that has been at the core of this whole time. And while some communities might take heart in the folks sitting around that table decrying anti-Semitism, remember, these are the same people that cozied up to folks a few years ago in Charlottesville who said, Jews will not replace us. These are the very same people who you think are going to defend Jewish people. This has been a political tool, both by Benjamin Netanyahu and by this administration. Unfortunately, I think, again, the Democrats didn't have a strong enough message here. And that is part of the reason why they lost. And yet you saw Donald Trump and those folks around that table mentioning nothing about the human rights of the Palestinian people, sort of mentioning nothing about the fact that you have children starving, that you've had aid workers and journalists who were just trying to provide assistance and cover this tragedy being murdered. Nothing mentioned there. So this is, I think, at par for the course, and why this politics is probably going to inspire more folks like Mamdani and others around this country, because people are sick of this.
Well, they are, and so we'll see what happens. So Cuomo's saying he's staying in. Adams is like, oh my God, how dare you? Adams is scared he's going to lose. As you said it, Niambi, they think that those two are going to split the vote, and then we'll see what happens. So, all right, folks, quick break. We come back. Let's talk about the drama at St. Augustine's University back in a moment.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking faith, family, fatherhood, and the pathway to reentry. Most of us, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, have had someone in our lives, whether it was a grandfather, a father, an uncle, a brother, or a cousin, who has been incarcerated or justice impacted. What does that look like in rebuilding family and relationships? What does it look like for us to be able to have substantive conversations, come to the table, love on each other, while at the same time get it all out in the open so that we can begin a new journey together?
You know, the last thing you want is, in the midst of trying to piece your life back together, for home to not be a comfortable place.
That's all next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Well, folks, in North Carolina, HBCU, St. Augustine University, their latest attempt to keep its accreditation has failed. An appeals committee upheld the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges' decision to remove its status as an accredited university. But despite this decision, St. Augustine's University said that classes will begin in the fall and it will keep its accredited status. In a news release issued Monday, St. Augustine's University announced its intention to file a court injunction to prevent any interruptions that could hinder the completion of degrees for new and returning students, thereby ensuring the university's accreditation. As of now, the university's website does not list an academic calendar for when fall 2025 classes will begin. We reached out to the university, but our email went unanswered like it has for the last several months. We've been trying to get the interim president, Marcus Burgess, and the Board of Trustees chair, Brian Boulware, on this show for months. They've declined every single one of our invitations. Let's see here. Niambi, I want to start with you. Look, you've been a university professor. Let's just be real clear. No accreditation means students can't get financial aid. That's what it boils down to. We know what happened with other universities. And the bottom line is this university has had massive financial problems, and this board can try to run away from it, but it's happened on their watch. And people, frankly, get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And this board is simply they cannot do the job. And so it's no shock that the accreditation got denied because of the sheer incompetence of leadership that's destroyed this university.
And it's so unfortunate, right? I mean, this university's been around since 1867. I have family members who've gone to this university. But not only can students not get their financial aid, we have to think about what it also means to go to an unaccredited university, because it's not just about the financial soundness of the institution. It's also about the academic quality of the institution, about the types of infrastructure they have, like labs and libraries, all of that kind of stuff that goes into making a full university. The qualifications of the faculty even are part of this appraisal. And so, financial mismanagement doesn't always look like theft. And I think that's something that many people don't always understand. And this university, unfortunately, has seen a tragic dip in enrollment that has devastated its finances. Most of its students are on some form of financial aid. So if this accreditation goes away, this institution will falter and will go the way of a St. Paul's and so many other institutions that we've seen that have unfortunately no longer with us. And that will be a tragic end. But I think there also has to be, and you mentioned this a moment ago, Roland, a real reckoning with how these institutions run. And sometimes they can be very incestuous, and that's not always a good thing. And it's not to suggest that they don't have professionals who come out of this place that are worthwhile or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that. But sometimes what you do need is people who have expertise from outside, who can actually bring that to the institution to figure out ways that you can modernize. I mean, I think some of their curriculum could potentially be interesting. They're one of the only schools with film into production as a major. And I think that could be something to capitalize on, especially with the film industry in the state of North Carolina, like in Wilmington. But you also have to be really innovative if you want to continue to draw students to that campus. Unfortunately, resources are going to be and have been a perpetual issue for this institution, like so many others. But I think, like a lot of institutions, they have been slow to adopt online learning. They've been slow to adopt certificates and other kinds of income generating programs that can really be the difference maker in those kinds of institutions. Because when you look at peer institutions like North Carolina A&T, Winston-Salem State, North Carolina Central, they're thriving. So it's not just about being an HBCU. There's something else going on. And I think St. Aug needs to do some real inventory.
Well, it's going to be a little hard to do inventory when you ain't going to have a university in Congo. And let's be real clear. If you are a college professor, I'm not trying to go somewhere where I can't get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very real. I'm sitting here thinking that, who would do that, on my campus up at American University. Like, if we went through any of these particular issues, professors would be trying to get out the door as quickly as possible, and students would be trying to find new spaces as quickly as possible. And, my heart definitely goes out to what the professors are going to be dealing with, but the students first and foremost, because it also ties back to our last section on talking about the Department of Education, because it's already hard enough for so many of us to get into college. And as Niambi was saying, many who are there are already on financial aid. That's going to be harder to get. And the Department of Education is not going to give this university any support in any way, shape, or form. So I honestly cannot see how it's going to open its doors. It hasn't even announced return dates for students. Like, what are parents supposed to do? If I was a parent, I wouldn't be sending my child there in any way, shape, or form. I wouldn't be sending them back if they were upperclassmen. You just can't risk it. I mean, I think a lot of students would be safer off dealing with a community college within their neighborhoods until they figure out where they're going to go later with the whole transcripts and the like, because to send them back there to a place where their courses and degrees could absolutely be worthless in this day and age, where it's already harder to get that education, I can't see it happening. I can't. And the fact that they won't come and answer questions because they know they're going to get the real from you, Roland, it also says a lot to who they are.
Oh, absolutely. And Raven, let's be perfectly clear. One of the biggest problems that they have is this board does not have anyone over them. So it's a self-dealing board. You can't get rid of the board. And again, for a board member to leave or for a new chair to be voted upon, well, the existing board does that. Anybody with half a brain can sit here and say, this board is incapable of leading this university out of the abyss. Okay, the lawsuits being filed against them, the different decisions. I mean, just the back and forth. I mean, this is an utter shame, and it's a sham. And we got to call it for what it is. And they can be all pissed off if they want to, but this university does not have to be in the condition that it is in. This is neglect by individuals who are in leadership. This is not all outside forces happen because COVID money saved a lot of a lot of HBCUs, put them on a good footing. They were able to build from that. How in the hell do you go from that to losing accreditation, about to shut your doors? I'm sorry. There's nothing these people can say that makes any sense to me whatsoever. And yeah, they don't want to be truthful. They don't want to actually come out and talk about it because they don't want to have to give answers that can be scrutinized, verified, and fact-checked.
I think you're absolutely right, Roland. And as you've named and my co-panelists have named, it's a shame. It's just a shame. I mean, these spaces, HBCUs, are sacred and have to be protected both from bad actors within and bad actors outside of these institutions. And unfortunately, this is a bad actors within type of situation. I mean, I think something I've also been contemplating a lot as it pertains to this particular unfolding is the fact that the university is sitting on $198 million worth of land. And so if folks are not enrolling into this institution, if they're not able to continue to have this institution in its current iteration because of these accreditation issues, I'm also thinking about just the Black economic power, right? Like, what would it mean if this land was sold and now isn't serving Black community, isn't circulating in Black community? The tremendous harm of that is hard to quantify. And first and foremost, as my co-panelists have also named, I think just thinking about the students here. You know, I was that college student that was on Pell Grants and working 2 and 3 jobs to get through college. And really, it was assistance and programs and scholarships that made it possible for me to get my degree. I cannot imagine being a year into college or 2 years into college or 3 years into college or right at the tail end and having that dream that I've been working so hard for ripped away from me. So my heart really goes out to the students. It wasn't so long ago that I was also in college myself. And I really just hope that at the very least, those students are able to get the qualifications and the degrees that they've worked so hard for.
Well, some people believe that there is sabotage going on in order to get their hands on that very land. So we'll see what happens next. Real quick, a Black family from Alabama is seeking judicial intervention to compel the Homewood, Alabama Police Department to release the body cam footage of the fatal shooting of 18-year-old Jabari Peoples. He was shot on June 23rd. According to reports, a uniformed police officer approached Jabari's vehicle and said he smelled marijuana. The officer ordered Jabari and his girlfriend to exit the car. Authorities claim a handgun was visible in the driver's side door and that Jabari allegedly reached for the gun. However, Jabari's girlfriend disputes this account. The Peoples family maintains that Jabari was unarmed and is calling for complete transparency in this investigation. The court hearing is scheduled for August 4th. Let me thank my panelists, Raven, Nyambi, and Omikongo, for being on today's show. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much, folks. Thank you for watching us. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to be able to build and grow this show and grow this network. Because guess what? There's no other black news and information show on the air. Not TV One, not BET, not any of the other networks, not on the digital side. What we do here every single day is about centering you and speaking to your issues, so your support is critical. So please support us right here by contributing via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. If you want to get the link, go to Roland Martin Unfiltered or BlackStarNetwork.com. Send your check and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Be sure to download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Don't forget, you also can support us by getting my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide. You can get the audio book that I read. I actually read it. It's go to Audible. You can download the book as well, so be sure to check that out. And again, get the book from Ben Bella Books, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound Bookshop, Chapters, Books A Million, and as I said, Unaudible. Also, of course, be sure to get our shirts, get our attire. You can get our stuff. Of course, we had our various shirts. MAGA chose between woke or broke. They chose broke. That was an Anthony Scaramucci quote. You have Don't Blame Me. I voted for the black woman. You also have Roland Martin Unfiltered. You can also get our shirt. Hashtag we tried to tell you, FAFO 2025 with Project crossed out. You want to get those T-shirts? Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. We are using a new vendor. We had way too many issues with our previous vendor, so we're doing a trial run with a new vendor. If you ordered your shirt from the previous company, please go to RolandSMartin.com. Send us an email so we can help you get that. But if you want our products, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com to get our merchandise. You can get it all there. Don't forget, download. You can want to listen to our audio podcast. You can do so. You can listen to the audio on YouTube or go to iHeartRadio Network to check out our audio podcast of the show and all shows on the network. And don't forget, download the app Fanbase. And if you want to invest, simply get more information at startengine.com/fanbase. Startengine.com/fanbase to invest there as well. And so, thanks a lot. We appreciate all of you for watching the show. Don't forget, if you missed any of our shows last week, our special coverage, you missed Moral Mondays. We actually streamed that, so simply go to, of course, our YouTube channel or BlackStarNetwork.com app. And don't forget, folks, in addition to, of course, doing this show, I'm also running for the board of directors of the National Association of Black Journalists. So do me a favor. That's right. Boom, right there. If you are an NABJ voter, you can vote beginning today. Cast your ballot today for NABJ. I'm running for Vice President Digital. My girl Erin Haynes is running for President. So be sure to vote for both of us. If you are a voting member of the National Association of Black Journalists, voting begin today online. Goes through August 8th. Be sure to cast your vote. All right, folks. That's it right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. I'll see you tomorrow. Time for Truth Talks